Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Matt and John Make a Podcast. This is episode 37. John, how you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful, Matt. Just got off of work and just glad that the weekend is here. And yeah,
Uh,
so how has your week been, sir?
it's been nice in this room, all by myself. Not really, but it's been good. But to start off this week, another thing that's been good. We watched both of us last Sunday. They had the first two episodes of the Michael Jordan uh, document document documentary. Here you go, on ESPN,
The
where it's
Last Dance,
the Last Dance.
which did really good viewership wise. I think they did like a 6.3 or something like that, something along those lines. But man, this lived up to the hype. I thought, man. They aired the first two episodes, which they were in an hour each. Obviously, it was just very amazing because a, a lot of the inside stuff behind the scenes I didn't really know about. Like, I did not know how hated that 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 both Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf are. I mean, hell, man, like, if we thought freaking David Littlefield was bad for the Pirates way back, I mean,
Or Carol Baskin.
yeah, or Carol Baskin, my God, like Jerry Krause is like comes off as the most self-centered, egotistical executive I have
You got
ever.
mail.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Freaking cell phone on here. So like it's very amazing just to see just how badly that both Scottie Pippen
Mm-hmm.
and Michael Jordan hated him. I mean, hell, like they were showing in episode two of Scottie Pippen was cursing out Jerry Krause, basically demanding a trade. Hell, he was so fed up with him that he demanded a trade. He was sick of his contract, which by the way has to be one of the biggest contract blunders I've ever seen. Because I believe it was in '91. He signed a 7-year, $18 million contract. Like, any agent or advisor or whatever would like, like if that was like maybe say like 3 years, like okay, but 7 years. I mean, like, and he kind of talked about it at the time. His thinking was, I didn't want to leave any sort of cash on the table, just because he was taking care of his parents and everything and
Right.
his family. But man, just like you really had to feel for him. What was like the most so I don't know, what was the most surprising thing that you saw off of here?
Um, Probably just how management was just dealing with it, especially the GM, um, with just how his philosophy with the team that he had that was winning all the championships of, like, oh, they're getting old, but trying to rebuild. You don't want to rebuild when you're winning all those championships. At that point, you kind of just have to go until the wheels go off, until it's obvious that it's not the same. Um, like,
Well, I mean, just take it for an example. With the Pittsburgh Steelers, could you imagine if they just decide after AB left that hey, we're just going to just completely trade everyone, just blow it up. Like, who cares about the consequences? Because too, Jerry Krause who was a former baseball scout for the Chicago White Sox. He was under the impression individual players do not win championships, organizations do. Which in baseball you could say that is true. Not in basketball. Like, to me, if you don't have good players, or hell, if you don't have great players, you're not winning. It's just that simple. It's the same thing in like a football too. Even though it's more team or oriented.
But
And
almost same thing with basketball,
right? But it's just like this thing that you can win with just that you can just win with anything. I think is just freaking laughable.
Yeah.
And like you just kind of just saw just how naive that this man really was, and just how insecure that he really was.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a part of me that kind of felt sorry for him, but at the same time too, he brought a lot of this on himself. Just the stuff that he said openly in the freaking media about Scottie Pippen, basically saying, yeah, we are listening to offers about trading him. I'm just like, you just don't say that, because and Scottie even said that was essentially his last straw with him. Like, that was it. And even before the season started, that, like, they were unwilling at first to pay Phil Jackson, a guy who was the head coach for 5 title-winning Chicago Bulls teams, and who's arguably one of the top 5 greatest NBA head coaches of all time. Like, it just baffles me, just the incompetence from the top of the organization. But then there, I mean, like I have a few Chicago friends, and they kind of told me just how bad that it was. But man, I really had no idea how bad that it truly was.
You know? Yeah, and this whole series is going to be new to me, because this is taking place in the late 90s, and at the time, I'm 5-6 years old, 7, maybe at the later end. I probably have this going on. I really didn't watch basketball. I really didn't watch sports, period, back then. So this is all new to me. I've obviously heard Michael Jordan before when I was younger. I remember, since the Bulls were all the rage, I remember liking the Bulls, even though I really didn't watch. Like, I've heard of it. Like, I was aware, but I wasn't really, like, in depth and know what was going on. And I did remember, I faintly remember him like, leaving the Bulls and then coming back with Washington.
Yep, in 2003.
In 2000, I remember that.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, still back then, I still didn't watch basketball, so this is all new to me.
I mean, like, similar for me too. Like, I didn't really start watching until probably around 2000. Like, basically what got me into basketball was Kobe and Shaquille O'Neal. That was like those dominant Laker teams was what really drew me. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't really hear of Michael Jordan until I saw Space Jam, which that came out in '99 ish, something like that. I don't know.
Sure, late 90s, yeah, probably.
But it was just 1996 actually. Wow, that's
wow,
a lot earlier. But yeah, like, I never even heard of him. But at the time, I was like 7 or 8 years old. At the time, basketball was easily the least thing I was interested as a kid. It was always baseball, football.
It was
hockey,
baseball for me.
hockey.
Yeah,
When because here in Pittsburgh, Mario Lemieux is like a freaking god here. So basically, if you're not into hockey, like it's really really uncommon if you're not into hockey here, just based off of him and Andy Andy Yager alone
yeah.
at the time, you know.
And to go on a not to go on a tangent, but on the hockey front, I missed a majority of Lemieux
Mhm.
going, and I didn't really get into hockey as much as I am now until
Mhm.
probably Crosby. Crosby's probably the one that really got me hooked into it when he came with the whole hullabaloo with him.
Mhm.
So that 05-06 season,
Yeah,
yeah,
remember like
and
yeah, like
and
yeah, like
I don't remember much about that season, even though that was him and Lemieux played, and
it
I
was really disappointing because if you recall, they signed a whole bunch of high profile free agents and it just completely just flopped. And actually, I think they finished with the fifth worst
yeah
record
something they weren't
that
good.
that year. They were not
But it was the
containing.
next season, I think, is when they made the play. So 5 or 6, 06, 07. So yeah, they made the playoffs for the first time in a while with Crosby. The first time Crosby made the playoffs.
Right. But
Um,
uh,
I
but
remember that,
mhm,
and then the rest is history.
mhm. But yeah, but not to get off on a tangent, but you know, it just more so with basketball here, more so with basketball here in Pittsburgh. It's just it's not as popular. So
There's no because
basically,
there's no team,
yeah,
obviously.
obviously, and but MJ, she was just like you don't realize how big of a global icon that he was until you just sit down and watch this. Like when they went over for that exhibition game over, I think over
France,
in France,
because he had
like
the
you
beret, I think.
right, you would have thought that the freaking Beatles or something were coming in at that point. It's just like it was just amazing just how big of a star and just how crazy that it was. Now, what I'm really interested in for episode 3, it's just strictly talking about Dennis Rodman. I'm
That's going to
interested.
be interesting.
Are they going to touch on his time in WCW because at that time is when he joined there with Hollywood Hogan, and I believe yeah it was like him and Hogan faced DDP and Carl Malone on on a pay per view that year,
Hmm.
which is freaking crazy. But they're gonna really just go into his personal life and everything. I'm just expecting just some crazy stuff. But yeah, like I'm just really excited for this doc, and it looks like they're going to continue airing 2 episodes every Sunday, and it's a 10-part series. So man, it's off to a really good start. I'm trying to look through just going through my notes here. Obviously they kept on going back and forth um with the timeline. Like they touched on like MJ's college career. They brought in Roy Williams, who actually who actually recruited him when he was an assistant at that time, but he even said back then he was unlike any player that he had really had ever seen. And back then, man, like it was just so dominated by the big guys at that time. Like basically when he got drafted, like everyone and even in the Chicago papers there, like criticized um they kind of criticized Chicago management for actually taking him because just up until that time, um, with a guard play, just hadn't seen anyone like him before. In his elite athleticism was just something to behold.
And
Yeah.
And I was like,
Correct.
imagine being the was it who was drafted in front of Chicago? It
Portland.
was Portland. Imagine being Portland after the fact, like in
Sam Bowie. Yeah.
retrospect, and just being like, well, damn, we could have had the best player that arguably ever played the game, and we picked.
Ironically, they did the same thing when they drafted Greg Oden over Kevin Durant. When Kevin Durant came out, how painful, how painful must that
Everybody
have
in Portland, Oregon, it's just like, Jesus, we can't catch a break.
it's like the Cleveland Browns there. But yeah, they really touched on that. Obviously, there was a whole bunch of stuff with 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 Phil Jackson and Jerry Krause essentially hated each other. Hell, yeah, just and another thing that's really, and I think it's going to be a consistent thing that you're going to see is MJ's competitiveness and his fire is just it's really unlike anything that I have really have ever seen. Like obviously guys like Kobe and such come to mind, but just how like he hated to lose more than probably any other human being that I've ever seen. And I'm trying to think. I mean, you think of guys such as like Jerry Rice and like Tom Brady, um, Sidney Crosby, just some of these elite athletes, man, who just just don't accept losing, and when they do lose, they are crushed. And hell, I mean, like when they got into the freaking playoffs at 30-52, which is it's I'm not exactly sure how that happened. The Eastern Conference must have been
The rest of the league must have been terrible.
jeez, like 30-52. But suppose only like supposedly like MJ was just constantly frustrated that year because that was the year where he had some sort of a fracture in his foot, and he could only play I think 14 minutes a half, and they were down I think a point or two in the last game of the regular season,
To
and
try to get into the playoffs.
right, and there was like I think like 10 seconds left or something like that, something like that, and and the head coach takes him out of the game. And not surprisingly, this really sets off MJ, and it really drove. I felt a like wedge, and some of the reporters there kind of said, yeah, like that was the start of things not really getting of defenses not really being being fixed per se between him and the organization. Just like it just seemed like that they they want they want to have a higher draft pick than actually trying to go out and actually win games,
Mm-hmm.
which honestly I can't really disagree with MJ, just because man, like it's like the evidence is pretty damning, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, I mean, at that point when you're a couple wins away and in a weird scenario of that losing record,
Mhm.
um, that bad gets you a chance to be in the playoffs. I I mean, I know maybe you don't have a shot, but I mean, you never know
Exactly.
you never know what can happen. And yeah, you faced um, Boston with Larry Bird and company, who were like 60 and whatever.
Yeah.
Um, you never know. Like just take, and it's maybe not the best example because they still have winning records, but to go back to hockey, think of the Kings in 13? Was it 13? 11? Whatever.
Steelers in 2005.
2005. You sneak in,
Mm-hmm.
the Kings just snuck in and just steamrolled away, and they won the cup somehow, and probably.
Hmm.
So you never
Yeah.
know.
Mhm.
Maybe unlikely, but it's not impossible.
Well, and to at that time, like you just kind of, and they even said, Larry Bird said more specifically, it was like watching God playing basketball. Like
Yeah.
I think he had like 50 points in game one and then 63 in game two against those Boston
You set
Celtics.
the record.
Right. It was insane because at that time those Boston Celtics teams were, you talk about elite of the elite. Like there was, I mean, outside of the Showtime Lakers at the time, there was no probably there was probably no better team in basketball at that point. So it was just, needless to say, it was really impressive. So
It's it's just weird to think. I just thought that like the Bulls winning all these championships in the '90s,
mhm,
and then fast forward to today, and they're like an
a joke,
afterthought. Like
a joke.
nobody even thinks about them. There's maybe a handful of teams that anybody really pays attention to,
Mhm,
and so that's almost like the problem with the NBA. That like who's like the big names,
mhm.
Golden State, Cleveland,
Lakers, no,
Lakers.
not so much Cleveland now,
Not
but
now, yeah, but people still. I mean, they're still there. The Celtics kind of just dropped off. I mean,
uh,
was it early in the 2000s, maybe early mid 2000s?
so
They
so
were hot.
in 2008 till about 2011 to 2012 is when they were in title contention. That they obviously
Yeah, it was like
won the
them and the
cup.
Lakers again, if I'm not
Mhm.
mistaken. And
Yep,
then they fell off. The Lakers were
like a
always
Miami Heat then, like
were
Miami Heat
Miami
have
Heat with
LeBron
LeBron. That got
and D
Miami.
Wade. Mhm.
Yeah, that got Miami up there. It's like just you get the big players, and that elevates a franchise. And once they leave, it's
Mhm.
there's like nobody. And then
Yeah.
there's big names in other places, and then you hear, and I'm again talking very from a very casual standpoint, but it just seems like once you get to the playoffs, you pick, oh, it's going to be so and so in this team,
Mhm.
and we had that with Golden State, and you can say Golden State was coming close to like their dynasty there for a second, like a modern day
Mhm.
last couple of years because they've with what's his face help me, I'm drawing the blank.
Oh, could you say that
That
again, man?
star in Golden State. Oh my God.
Like I'm Steph Curry.
Steph. Yeah, couldn't. I drew had a blank there. You had him, so he was like the star. He was like the big thing. Um,
Um, Clay Thompson and
you had all
Green too. Yeah.
you had all the supporting cast, if you will.
Mhm. Yeah.
So they were like the modern day Bulls, if that's not too far of a stretch. Maybe not, obviously not to that extent, but
Yeah.
they were.
Not style wise, obviously, but
But
yeah,
I mean, just
I get what
dominance
you're saying. Yeah. Mhm.
um, in the modern day. So, and then if obviously other teams, but there's like teams like what's it, Utah Jazz. That's the team, right?
Now, Clippers are heavily in contention right now.
I don't even know, but you two Utah Jazz, like nobody knows about them.
Now,
But
they're
most of the team, no, it's like
mhm.
after it's a very top heavy league, and it just seems like it just goes off a cliff. To
Well, and another problem is too is with their overall popularity too, because their TV viewership just continues to decline year after year, and like ESPN and ABC signed them to this ridiculous contract, which they can't be too happy about right now, just because viewership for these games just has not exactly been good. And to kind of segue here, the NFL draft, on the other hand, did a 15.6 rating for round one last night. I mean, like, and the previous record, Matt, was only 12.6. Like, this, if you can't, I mean, like, if you can't see which sport is king in this country, I don't know what to tell you. Like, if 15.6 people watched a non-sporting event,
wait. You said 15.6 people. No, you mean that's just the rating. That's just the rating. I was going to say somebody got cut in thirds.
15.6 million people watched probably the best, I would say, probably the best non-sporting spectacle you could probably say in sports right now. It's just the amount of people that watches every single year. It's just crazy. And just to kind of take away from some things away from this, this thing dragged. Holy hell! Like, I mean, like,
I hate it. I shut it off after a while because first the Steelers weren't in it, and I'm just like, I don't care.
It was like it was 8:45 Eastern time, and there was, I think, a total of 2 picks or 3 picks.
I think there was like 1 or 2 in the first half hour. I think even 1 in the first half hour.
Well, like, I like, they were dragging everything out. I'm like, why are you dragging this thing out? Just freaking pick the people. But
yeah, and like Cincinnati's on the clock, and everybody knows who they're gonna pick. They know who they're gonna pick. If they're doing like the live view and like the GM and coaches thing, I'm like, you're on the clock, do something. And they took pretty much the whole time. I'm like, just pick the damn quarterback. We all know. And when the pick comes in, they're still talking. It's like ESPN was controlling it. You got to wait for the damn interview to be over.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just, it goes on so much. And it's like, this is like almost the most overhyped sporting event, not sporting event that we have. Like any other draft and any other sport, nobody gives 2 craps about. Hockey comes and goes. Baseball comes and goes. You hear about it, people, but it's not this big spectacle that takes forever to get through the first round. That's why the second and rounds after that just go by fast because nobody freaking cares, and that's great. And we have interest here because the Steelers finally pick.
Yeah,
and that's all I care about.
And I could tell you, it was getting really irritating last night. Like, just sometimes with these freaking Yinzers, man. Like, there was people complaining that the Steelers weren't trading back into the freaking first round.
Why?
I'm like, hey guys, we got 6 picks this year. We're not in that freaking position to be demanding to get into the first round. And in case you haven't heard, our first round pick this year was a all-pro safety this year. His name was Matt, what's his name?
Minka Fitzpatrick.
Oh yeah, that's right. So can we please chill out for just one freaking night? They are going to get some good players.
Yeah, everybody thinks you have the only good players come in the first round, but remind me again what round Tom Brady was in.
6.
And look what he did.
Just from the Steelers side, which round was Antonio Brown, Juju Smith-Schuster in? I mean, it's just like not every single one of these great players are going to be in the freaking first round. So I'm not going to overreact
or even be good.
Right, exactly. And guys were complaining, they have so many issues and all. I'm like, every team has issues. Like, every team has depth issues. Like, I don't think it needs to be stated enough. This offense is a different offense with our franchise quarterback at the helm, and not two third string quarterbacks at the helm. So they're going to probably take at least a wide receiver
A running back.
at least one running back tonight. When we
Is this
are
just the
filming
second round, or is this?
second and third round tonight.
I can probably a wide receiver or running back. I wouldn't be surprised if not
Become safety is possible.
a safety, maybe a
Offensive line.
offensive line. Yeah, I was just about to say that in later rounds because what's his face? Was it Foster? Didn't he retire? Somebody retired. Am I somebody? I know somebody left the offensive line.
Oh no. Oh yeah.
Foster
Ramon
retired.
Foster.
He
Yeah,
retired. So you need to fill that back. You need to fill that space.
Mm-hmm.
So they have several picks to do it. I mean, you got that, then you got free agency and whatnot.
Well,
trades. But
and I
there's
could
people out there.
also see them possibly trading back tonight and getting some more picks, which honestly wouldn't be a terrible decision because they only have they have two fourth round picks, which was one of the picks that they got from Jax or not actually no from the Dolphins in the Amika trade. So they got that, but if they could get an extra third, I mean, I I wouldn't mind it. I'll just
Yeah.
say that much. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Matt, I'm not sure if you heard this at all, but had you been following the stuff that's going on with like a Velveteen Dream?
No.
Yeah,
That's,
so supposedly he's being accused of having inappropriate conversations with an underage woman. Um
well, that's not good.
yeah, and actually I think within the last hour Dream came out with a statement. I'm going to read it here while I have this up. He said, quote, be assured I did not communicate inappropriately with anyone. A private photo of mine was shared without my consent or knowledge, and I am working with a third party to look into this matter. So supposedly he sent some inappropriate pictures to an underage woman, and supposedly there was some audio or something. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but and also Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful also tweeted this within the last hour. He said, along with this, he reported that in 2019, he was accused of smashing a car window in late 2019, and was actually arrested, and the police actually had an actual warrant for his arrest at, at the time. And like I tell you, man, like Dream needs to calm down. Needless to say, like there's been a few stories about him. Obviously unconfirmed with his issues, um, with like with drugs and stuff, and you know these stories are piling up now. Like this is not the first time we've seen him kind of walking on that tightrope there. So you, and now I'm hoping that all of the things work out, and that all of the, and obviously that none of this is actually true. But man, if this is true, turns out to be true, he's screwed. I mean, like I don't know how else you can say that. Like his career could essentially be over. You know.
Yeah, I'm just looking at as you were talking. I'm like looking through Twitter.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, this is not the best place to be in.
No.
I bet everybody in WWE, Triple H is just hand on his face. Like, so it's going to be interesting to see what they do.
And something else I came across too, Matt. He was supposedly gone from like it was like early 2019. For like a span of like 30 days. Some have speculated that he might have gone into rehab to kind of get himself back together and stuff. Obviously, unconfirmed and just at this point rumor and innuendo. But it just he needs to take better care of himself. Like he's only what 24 or 25 right now, so he's still really young in the business. But like he's representing a big corporation in the WWE, and especially at this time, it's not the time to be doing this type of stupid stuff, especially with the finances that are happening with the company as it is. Like I mean, you need a job now more than ever. So, hoping that this all gets blown over or gets taken care of. Anything more to add about this year, Matt?
No, I guess. I mean, I don't want to say anything until things are official. I mean, there's rumors, so I don't want to accuse one way or another because I don't know. I don't have all the facts, but like I said, if this is actually real and he actually did this, he could. If you're WWE, how do you take this? Do you suspend him? Do you release him? I guess you release him.
If this is proven true, he'll be cut.
You have to. I mean, just look at the Felipe Vasquez situation. I mean, obviously, that was when you get accused of something like that.
Yeah, I mean, if it's anything similar to that, he'll be in like freaking jail more than anything. But
yeah, or some kind of be listed on. Gonna go knock on the door. Hey, can you sign this?
Yep.
Yeah, so that's not a good look.
No,
it's a shame if it's true.
And the WWE already has enough bad PR as it is right now. So it's
gonna
the last thing.
It's good.
The last thing that they want to be dealing with.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see if what happens in the upcoming week, because we'll see what happens with NXT TV, because I don't know. The thing is, I don't know if they were doing NXT live this week and then recording next week, because there was a report they were going to do live and then tape after, and then so on and so forth.
Supposedly that is what AEW is going to be doing too. I think in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
Unlike Fightful, dropped another report that supposedly they're going to be doing like sort of like live for a single week, and then go a few weeks taped, and supposedly they're going to be filming at like a daily place in Jacksonville, which I kind of had a feeling that's probably where they were going to be going, just because of the Florida government basically saying that professional wrestling is deemed essential. So, I mean, you can figure that and kind of segueing that into Dana White and the UFC. We essentially have a date and a place now, Matt. So basically, UFC 249, which is happening in exactly two weeks when this podcast drops. Um, we are having this card in Jacksonville, Florida. And I'll pull up what the specific name of the arenas. It's called the ByStar Arena. But well, I mean, you can't be too surprised about this um, just because with the state of Florida making all of this stuff legal, it was only a matter of time before Dana was going to start to churn out some cards here. Supposedly, too, he's also working on a card for the following week. So it looks like that we're going to be getting some more events here. I mean, like, um, as far as your take on it, do you think that it's smart, that it's the wrong thing to do? What do you think?
These days,
Well, you got an ad playing. I mean, as long as there's no people, I mean, in the crowd, I mean, you can't really say much because WWE is doing it with wrestlers. I mean, as long as everybody gets tested and there's strict guidelines, then I mean, I guess it's going to be okay. I guess in a couple weeks. I mean, I'm fine with as long as there's nobody who is. If they test positive, you're out. You don't get in the place.
Have to be.
And yeah, obviously, and no fans.
And
I guess it's okay.
And supposedly too, they're planning on having Anik, DC, and Rogan on commentary, which that's going to be gold. I can't wait for that. There.
It'd be nice if they do something, and they probably never will happen. If they were nice, because everybody is out of jobs for the most part in some form or fashion, they give us this pay-per-view for free.
Good one there, buddy.
I know. It'd be good. Or at least half off.
Wouldn't be a bad idea, and I definitely think that's something that AEW should be doing for double or nothing too. I mean, like paying or asking fans to pay $50 for anything right now it's a little bit
not a good look.
It's pretty hilarious if you think about
it. You can't argue with WWE because you either can watch it for free or $9.99.
Right, exactly. And as far as the card, it's basically essentially the same card that they were playing on for last week's show, minus obviously with Tony versus Habib. So it's being headlined by Tony Ferguson versus Justin Gaethje for the interim lightweight title, and also Henry Cejudo is facing the returning Dominic Cruz. As the two title fights, then other fights such as Francis Ngannou versus Rosenstrike, Jeremy Stevens versus Calvin Kattar, and Greg Hardy versus Jurgen De Castro, which that is only with the freaking main card. And then as far as the prelims, it looks like they're going to be headlining the ESPN prelims with Donald Cerrone versus Anthony Pettis. I just Cowboy, man. I'm like it. At some point, I think he's going to have to retire, but that's the fight there. Fabricio for Doom is back. He'll be facing Alexei Olenek. You also have Carla Esparza versus Michelle Watterson. Jacare Souza versus Uriah Hall. Vicente Luque versus Nico Price. Just some of the really, really good fights on this card, and it looks like that unless something crazy happens, man, this is definitely going down. Because there's not going to be you're not going to have the Florida government, I feel, stepping in here, because if they do, then basically WWE and AEW would be kind of screwed here, along with that. So yeah, we're gonna finally get some actual live sporting events here. Hardly wait. I'm not sure how you feel, but
It's gonna be it's gonna be interesting to watch, and at least it's something. I
yep.
mean, WWE is, you could say, the first
Mhm.
to be doing stuff consistently, and then you have the draft. But that's not really a sporting event, if you will, per se.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think it's going to do real well, obviously, with the card and people just wanting to watch something other than
And,
Netflix.
and I think that this is going to be the start of other pro leagues getting more involved. Like you're hearing constant reports with a baseball of them possibly having games in like states such as Arizona and Texas. I mean, like, I don't know what's going to happen with hockey and basketball, but with things I think are going to slowly reopen soon here. For us in the state of Pennsylvania, Governor Tom Wolf has targeted May 8th, I believe, to slowly start to reopen the economy. Now, whether that date holds is a complete other other story, but hopefully something soon. I don't think that there's really too much more to add on the on the Corona front, unless you found something that they're mad that you want to talk about.
No, but did you what's your opinion? Do you hear what Trump said about
I
disaffected?
heard. Yeah, I heard about it. I shook my head and just, I just like really don't have a strong opinion on it, and everyone was losing their goddamn minds yesterday.
I just
Just he says insane and ridiculous stuff just to, I feel it just to piss people off. Honestly, it's just it, it is what it is. I
yeah.
just didn't care.
Do you want to? I'm gonna find it. Do you want to go over real quick at the, I guess, on the tail end here, the quarter one?
Yeah. Did anything that actually happen on there that we need to actually talk
No,
about?
but I can show. Hang on, I gotta find it. The just some uh numbers from, I guess, quarter one numbers just overall, and I can. The good thing, I can share my screen, so I don't have to like cut and paste, cut and paste, cut and paste. Um. So I guess you're seeing it right now, right?
Yep, I see the WWE title right now,
Hang on. I got to.
and a cap screen right now.
Yeah, I have to. For some reason, I have to fix this in my software because it is not. There you go. I got to change that so everybody can see it. Can you see it full screen?
Yep. Yep.
Okay. I just want to make sure it's still going. Okay. So this is the raw numbers, viewership numbers from quarter one last year, quarter one this year. I guess this is average viewership. 16% drop for Raw, and which is not as bad as a nearly 30% drop for the USA Network as a whole. So it's just not Raw, and it is USA.
If you need to remind people why WWE will never leave there. Just look at the
or
other
why USA and NBC Universal wants them, even though it is declining, and we all criticize them for that. They're not declining as fast as USA. Their numbers it's one of the best shows.
like viewership wise.
And then I mean, in cable top 25 cable networks have gone down on average 5%. Now we go to SmackDown. SmackDown has went up from this time last year, and that has to do with Fox. They moved to Fox.
Up 16%.
Up 16%. And Fox as a whole has went up 36%.
Mm-hmm.
So not necessarily because of SmackDown, but just everything.
It helps.
And it helps. It does. It helps. And then the top 4 broadcast networks have gone down -6. And I'm going to assume that the broadcast networks, it says down here, ABC, CBS, Fox, and NBC. Total primetime average viewers. This real quick, this is pretty much video on demand things that produce ads, that have ads, and you go back and are going up. Global views, they're doing good on social media. Social media viewers have just steadily gone up. Reds, Facebook, Twitter, and other platforms. I think
pretty strong with that.
That's TikTok and everything, and with Snapchat. Network subscribers. On the bottom right here, just want to make sure. Okay, it's still going. This is total subscribers, including free. This top little section's free. Page down below for WrestleManias. This WrestleMania has a 5% increase, just alone. But overall, total subscribers, free and paid. I believe this is free. Have gone down, even though there was more free subscribers, but paid subscribers have gone down from years past. It's not going up. That's the main thing.
Yeah.
And a lot more free in total. And I'm not sure if I have to read into more than that, but this is what is this? Average paid subscribers. Yeah, you can just tell. Gold's 2018, Blues 2019, Reds 2020. Just besides the bump last year, it's just been basically going down. Live attendance this year, it went up 6,300 on average. It went up this year for whatever reason. Yeah, that's interesting to me. Maybe I don't know, but as a consistent thing, they've been going down, and I believe that's it.
Yep.
Just some numbers out there to talk about, and let me change this back. It's a recording. There we go. So nobody's just seeing our frozen faces. So yeah, that's just some interesting numbers. Nothing. Some things I remember off the top of my head. I think before all this started, they were talking about selling pay-per-view rights and stuff like that. They said on the conference call, I think it's on hold, but I think it's not gone.
No, it's going to happen. Just it's only a matter of time. With everything that happened, like just kind of just some bad timing on there, because I guarantee you that either ESPN or Fox or whomever.
NBC, because NBC's I think starting the thing. Somebody's gonna want to pay money.
Yep. At their Peacock service there. Yeah.
They've outperformed financially revenue by analyst estimates. The estimate was 264.6 million, and they reported 291 million for quarter one. So this doesn't take account quarter two, which was Mania and the cuts. So this is January, February, March. So before pretty much all crap hit the fan. And same thing with ratings. They're not reporting, ratings have been down, especially Raw, below 2 million. That's not going to take effect in this report because obviously everything was just pretty much new for most of March. I'm trying to think anything real quick. Oh, the stock price went up because of the news because they outperformed. So if you had money, you were making some money.
Yeah, I think they're at like $44 now per share. Something like that. Time I checked,
so that's pretty much the big. I'm probably missing something, but I think that's the big stuff that. I mean, you can look. I'll have Brandon Thurston from WrestleNomics. Again, his Twitter in the description below, and the link to the slideshows that I just had up if you want to read into more stuff. But yeah, Brandon Thurston and WrestleNomics on Twitter, that's a good source for times like this, because if you're interested in stuff like that, the business of the business, if you will, he's a good follow. And he has I think reports about the wrestling business as a whole. I think for like $5 you can access stuff. I didn't buy it yet. I might, just to look and see how everything is doing. It probably gets into obviously WWE, AEW, Impact, and whatnot. So if you're interested in that stuff, follow him on Twitter. So yeah.
And I think on that note, that's probably a good place for us to stop here. So, Matt, I'll let you take the reins. And before I give it up to Matt here, as always, even though we haven't aired yet on the show, thank you once again to Ryan for having us on. As always, just as we talked about. Last week, we're going to be doing this every Friday night at 7:30 Eastern live on YouTube on our channel, and we are more than happy to consistently do this every week. So okay, Matt, good.
First off, I'd like to thank all the new subscribers in the last week. I know the NB show is probably helping with that. But anyways, thank you regardless. Like John said, we're recording this before this week's NB show on Friday, yesterday. So we're going to have fun. We did have fun there, if we're going to talk back in the past. But before we sign off, I'd like, again, comment, like the video, subscribe if you haven't already. Please do. It helps us out. For the most part, it looks like most of you enjoy what you're seeing with the comments and subscribing. Again, hit the bell if you want to know when a new video comes out. Videos come out every Saturday at 3 p.m. Just like this one we're watching right now. We have our live reaction to AEW and NXT every Wednesday around 10:15, and of course, like we mentioned, the NB show every Friday live on this channel at 7:30. About a half hour or so right now to lead up into SmackDown with some wrestling talk. So with that, for John, I'm Matt. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.